All right, all right. Hello, everyone. We are back here again. Voices of Courage, Walk the Talk with your host, Brandy J. And I have here with me today, this is PJ from, okay, I got this, PJ. I got this, the founder of Archangel. I'm not going to look, Intelligence. Oh, I had to look, Protective Intelligence. Yeah, this,
Yep, Archangel Protective Intelligence.
I almost had it without looking. How are you today, PJ?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be talking to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been all right day. I haven't watched any new. Well, I don't
Good.
even watch the news, but I haven't like been around anything that could even tell me about the news, or somebody always knows something. So it feels good not to be informed of anything.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. So
People trip all over themselves to go out of their way and tell you about the news, and it's never good news.
yeah, bro. Especially if they want to tell you about it. Nobody talks about the good stuff, if there's any.
No.
I'm so glad to have you with us, PJ, because what you do is, I know that you're an MA practitioner, right?
I was an MMA practitioner. I just practice for self-defense now and just
Okay.
teach for self-defense.
Okay. And so can you tell us more about like how you what do you do and how did you get to where you are now for what you do?
So I started off as in traditional martial arts, and then I kept finding things that seemed tougher. So Muay Thai, which is like Thai kickboxing, but it's got knees and elbows. It's really brutal. And I was walking by an MMA gym one day that just opened by my house, and I'm like, oh, this would be really cool. Like I could be a legitimate tough guy if I could even hang in there with these guys in the gym. Just go in there and mix it up with these MMA fighters. That would be really, really cool. So I walked in there and spent almost 5.5 years there. And one day, someone from church, one of the women from church, asked me about teaching self defense. And I'm like, I would love to. That's something that I really am passionate about teaching people how to defend themselves. And then I started learning more about it and more about how to do it and more about how it differed from just martial arts. And then I taught I taught self-defense for years and years and years. And then I expanded it to the protective intelligence because I started getting calls and messages from like girls who had been stalked and victims of crime and people who were being threatened. And so it got to be more expansive and things got to be where I couldn't just rely on like this is a block and this is a strike and things that you would think of as like self defense. Now it was I had to learn about things like FBI statistics and how to prevent crime. And so I learned a bunch of new skills. So it was Archangel Self Defense, and then I changed it to Archangel Protective Intelligence. And that's what I do now is it's a lot more expansive than just self defense.
Okay. All right, cool. So for you, this is I know that you also said you had been through transformation yourself coming from obesity and depression, so you completely could understand basically when one is has to transform in a way to change their life. What was that like for you? Like what made you want to? What was that moment where you decided to?
So I grew up being bullied all the time. I had a brain tumor when I was 6, and that led to just a lot of physical challenges that I was dealing with. So you had that, kids picking on me because it wasn't really a disability, but there were some physical challenges that I had to work through and overcome. And when I was a kid, I grew up on like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and like the Karate Kid. And so everything was martial arts when I was growing up. And it was so much like I want to be that. I want to be able to defend myself. I want to be able to fight back, and I want to not be afraid and not be bullied anymore. And so when I graduated high school, I was really overweight and really depressed. And I walked into a kung fu class one day, and I felt like I belonged somewhere for the first time. Like, these are my people. They're interested in the things that I'm interested in, and they're here to help me grow. And so I really changed physically. My confidence grew, and I really immersed myself in this. And then, like I said, I went to learn Russian martial arts and then Muay Thai, and I kept challenging myself and pushing myself. And it was really when I was doing MMA where I was in the gym with these fighters, where I went, oh, okay, I'm confident now. Like, I'm not scared of anybody getting in my face. Why would I be?
Right. Wow. That's really awesome that that's how you were able to want you noticed that what you wanted to do, how you wanted to be, and then you went ahead and you applied it, versus
Yeah,
putting one.
I got to transform myself into exactly what I wanted to be. And so I really found my calling, my purpose, and together with my Christianity, I finally felt like I knew why I was here. I wasn't just in the way in life. I was actually contributing something. I had something to say, something to add, and I was a person of value for the first time in my life.
Awesome. Was your family involved in any way? Did you have a good relationship with your parents and family?
I had a fairly good relationship with my family. My dad and I butted heads a lot until like I was an adult, but my dad was a pastor. My grandpa was a Golden Gloves champion and coached at a gym in inner city Minneapolis for a good portion of his life. And, although my dad didn't ever reach the height that he was, my dad grew up in a boxing family, learned to box, competed a little bit. So I actually kind of have this in my blood.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Yeah, you got the fighter and you got the your dad's a pastor, so you got, the Christian fighter.
Yeah, being a pastor's kid is a lot harder than being a fighter. I got to be honest with you about that.
I bet. Yeah, that's cool. So it's a lot of your you have a lot of students that are younger, like youth, versus are you have the same amount?
I have, because of the COVID thing, for sure, I have very few regular students right now. What I have is I have a intelligence website where I have subscribers, and then I do a lot of social media stuff. Sometimes I'll do some remote teaching. I have one student that comes over all the time, and then I'll teach seminars. I get a lot of every year, like my daughter is graduating high school, she's going off to college. Can you teach her how to defend herself? So I'll do a lot of that. So I do a little of this, a little of that. And then, like I said, I have subscribers to my protective intelligence site, and I watch out for them and monitor their areas for threats.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you more about that. So can you explain to the listeners more about what your intelligence uh site is about and yeah, what
Yeah,
is
and I'm going to plug it shamelessly. It's archangelintelligence.locals.com, and there is a very small paywall under $3, and it acts like a social media site where other people can submit intelligence as well, and that works awesome. It's like a social media site, except no one fights on it, which is great. But I'll learn things about, like, there's a protest here with a group on the left and a group on the right, and there could potentially be some violence there, or things like the wind turbines in Texas, half of them froze over. And we were able to get that out to our subscribers way before anybody else was talking about it. And I certainly didn't know that it was going to be the huge problem that it was. But I said, hey, this is something that you might want to look out for. You might experience some power outages. And of course, it became a huge problem.
yeah, I did. Yeah, really huge. Good thing we have some good people out here in the world that we were able to like look out for one another. And I was happy to hear
Yeah,
that I had friends that donated, did it like a found. They're like huge TikTokers, and they did like a what was like a you know how like you do like a live show, but at the same time you're doing charity or whatever. People are sending in money. So, I don't know what they call that. I forgot. I can't think straight right
yeah,
now.
like a super chat. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, they went live, and so
yeah,
they were able
no.
to get a good
People,
like something $1,000 going for them.
when things like that happen, people really rise up and show how amazing they are.
Yeah,
All the people I know in Texas, and I have a lot of online friends and a lot of subscribers from Texas, and people were really opening their homes and saying, like, we have a fireplace, come chill here for a while. We have plenty of water, we have plenty of food, and
yeah,
people are really helping each other out.
yeah. It was
You
amazing.
know,
Yeah,
yeah,
from all races, the Hispanic, the Muslim community. It shows you just like when stuff really goes down, people will, the better part of humanity will rise.
yeah. And it's, we a lot of times talk about the failures of these big energy companies or the government, and we really see when things like this happen that we shouldn't be relying on those people because there really are neighbors. that are going to have your back. And you really see who the truly dependable people are.
Yeah, that's very true. The neighbor that looks at your house when you're gone or notices that you haven't been
Hmm.
home, like that. Yeah, that's how we are right here in our area. We live right next to the police, but you know, I'd
And that's
rather.
what we need.
Yeah, most definitely. Yep. I was talking to a friend that I host another show with, and we are talking about like he's from New York, like back then, like the neighborhood would look out for like the kids, like if you were ever to be in trouble, your mom would find out way before, because the neighbors saw you and just like couldn't do anything but wrong because basically the whole neighborhood basically
Hmm.
raised you. It's like a little village or whatever. Yeah. And I know that's kind of like
Yeah.
how it was when I was a little lot younger in one neighborhood where it's like my dad actually lived at the end, all the way down the end of the street. And then at the very end of up the street was where I lived. So my dad was like right down the street. And then right in the middle was all my friends I grew up with and went to school with. I'd come home, they'd be out in my yard on my bikes and stuff. It's crazy,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it was,
I grew up that way too, and I miss it.
yeah,
We try to do that for our daughter now. We live in a townhome complex, and everybody is pretty neighborly around here. So that's nice. But yeah, when the stuff really hits the fan, it's your neighbors that you want to be able to depend on, and you want to be able to be there for them.
yeah, that's so true. And it's gotten so like far from that. Like now these days, like people don't even like talk to their neighbors sometimes too. Like I can even say I've lived over here for quite some time. I don't know like a lot of people because I kind of like went to work, came home,
Yeah.
and that's just what it was for me. I didn't have any reason to really be working around the neighborhood. Didn't know people. I knew some from just coming outside or on a sunny day because we live like it's like very diverse where I live in the area. Like you'll see Asians, Somalia, Africans, Hispanics, because it's like we have like this little market, farmers market. There's
It's
Denny's,
cool.
there's a store, a library. So it's very diverse. That's what I really like about it. So you just always see
And,
your regular neighbors and yeah,
and that's so great because it kind of like folds into what else we're talking about. Because when we talk about like violence or crime, when you get to know your neighbors and you all look out for each other, then that becomes so much less of a threat to you
yeah,
because you
yep,
have a community.
yeah.
And that's
Same.
what we're lacking. Yeah, it's really hard to hate people, and it's really hard to want to harm people when you know them and when you're connected with them. And
Yeah,
that's what we lack so much in today's society, especially with the COVID thing. We're so disconnected from each other. And
yeah,
we get online and we like yell at each other and we don't see each other face to face. And we don't understand what people are saying. We like talk at each other and we talk past each other, but we really lack that community. So that's awesome that you have that.
yeah, yeah. That's pretty nice. It's necessary. You don't really notice what you take for granted, or once you get in a pandemic, and then you really realize like what things are more clear to you, like what was important and the things that you value more now than you really didn't, or not that you didn't, you just didn't really, you know, before. But like now, I'm more like,
You took them for granted. Yeah, we all do.
yeah, you just kind of figure they'll always be there. You don't really, you're consumed with everything else.
Hmm.
It's not that I don't love you, but I'm just consumed with everything else. And
Right.
I tell everybody I love you, and I'm so grateful for the internet and because podcasting and has this is the way I've built like real friendships since I've been second year podcasting, and I've built really genuine friendships. Not just like okay, well thanks, see you later. Like I have some really friends I see every day and I talk to, and so that's really helped.
Well, I mean, you're in California, I'm in Minnesota, but here we are talking face to face. Just to like give everybody a little glimpse behind the curtain, we had a little bit of trouble connecting because there's a 2 hour time difference. And it neither of us were, I think, thinking about that, but finally got it to happen.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I think you're ahead, right?
Yep, I'm 2 hours ahead. So we started this at 5 o'clock for you, and it was 7 o'clock for me. So when it's 7 o'clock for you, we were talking about like the 7 o'clock time, and 7 o'clock for you is 9 o'clock for me.
Yeah, yeah. I still get so confused sometimes with I don't think I'll ever get it right. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that's the funny thing about time, you know?
That's a big thing with this podcasting thing. I really got to start talking to people about like, what time zone are you in?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I think it's like the standard time, and I'm in central time. So it's like 8, 7 central a lot of times. Well, that's not the case for everybody.
Right? You're like, wait a minute. That be your time or my time? I got used to that
And then
after a
you got
while.
to do a little bit of mental math, and I'm not great at that either.
I'm right with you. That's why I just give up. I'm like, I'll wait for them to tell me. Be like, what time? So they give me math, and my brain will just like freeze up. So just like a computer.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. So tell me about a time where, if there's any, where since you've been doing what you do as far as the intelligence protection and the MMA practitioner and all that, has there been a time when you had to step up and possibly use those skills?
Well, there has not ever been a time where I would say this is was a life and death situation, but I have had people that get a little bit, drunk or something and want to push me around. And I have had to restrain some people. But a really big part of what I talk about is being situationally aware and de escalating those situations. So, the most successful I've been has been times where I've been able to cool someone down, to talk my way out of it. But I personally have never been in a situation, thankfully, where I've thought it was life or death. And maybe I've been able to anticipate those situations and avoid those situations. You're just not going to find me in a lot of dangerous situations. I'm not hanging out at bars. I'm not walking through bad neighborhoods in the middle of the night. I'm not picking fights with people. So I would like to always, always tell people avoid those bad situations. We want to really prevent that before it even becomes a problem.
Yeah.
We don't want to expose ourselves to danger and violence if we can help it. And sometimes you can, and it's not always your fault.
Yeah, that's a huge one to drive home to drive home to the through the youth, our young ones, to have those thoughts. I know with my son, I always tell him like, be aware of your surroundings,
Mm-hmm.
like can't just always be like in la la, or just sometimes when we go on a walk, he just and I'm always like, just looking around, just making sure, across the street, and I'm looking at the other, I'm looking both ways, even though it's a one-way street, So I'm like, yeah, have you not ever seen a car drive down the road? Plenty of time. So yeah, I'm looking both ways, But yeah, just like peeping stuff out, your surroundings behind you. Yeah, like that. Especially
It's
as a,
one
as
of
a woman, if you pick up on that too, to have to be able to know your surroundings because you already know there's somebody creeping around, especially if
mhm.
you see by yourself. So, but yeah.
It's one of the most important things I can teach anyone is that situational awareness. If you're especially in somewhere that you're unfamiliar with, a bad neighborhood, but just anywhere where you're in transit, you put your phone away. If you have headphones, pop one of them out so you can kind of hear what's going on around you. You want to be undistracted. You can see danger coming, and there's something called an interview process that criminals have where they pick out their victims, and they like to pick out victims that seem distracted, that don't seem confident, that don't look like they're going to put up a fight. So you don't want to be that easy target. When you walk around, be undistracted, look like you're confident. And I'm glad you mentioned being a woman because one of the things that women innately have is that women's intuition that we always talk about.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, so many women ignore that intuition because they want to give a person a chance or because they want to be nice or whatever. But when you have that feeling in your gut that something's not right, it's probably not right. And I think we've all lied to ourselves. Like we've all come in contact with a person and thought, like, there's something that doesn't feel right about this person, but I don't want to prejudge this person. I'll give this person a chance. Hey, they seem like a nice guy. And all of a sudden, they've stolen something from you, or with women, they get into an abusive relationship with the guy, and we've ignored that gut feeling. And I'm not saying that it's your fault because I don't get into that whole, shaming you after you've been a victim. And we've all done this at certain times where we've lied to ourselves. But when your intuition tells you that something's not right or that a person's not right,
Gotta listen to
listen to it.
it.
Don't ignore those red flags.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with that too, like with intuition, what I'm learning is that some people aren't really, they may just even call it intuition, but they really don't know how to tap into their, or you know what I mean? They haven't really gained that understanding of, okay, this is talking to me, it's telling me that everything is talking to your body, your brain, is something's not good here. You just got to figure out which one's good, which ones, I had somebody on the show like a few days ago, actually. He, does a lot of studies and research with intuition, and he talked about how everyone has it, and you just have to know everybody's is different. You just have to know which one is if it's telling you yes, or if it's telling you fight or flight, like run. And
Yep.
so
And,
people
and
doubt themselves, trust themselves, their intuition.
I think people ignore that.
Yeah.
I think that we all have it, but we've
Mhm.
spent all of our lives ignoring that. For most of us, danger and even confrontation and conflict is so foreign to us
Mhm.
that we kind of turn that part of ourselves off. And you have that in you for a reason.
Yeah. It's not
No animal in nature ignores their intuition,
right.
but we do.
Yep. Yep. It's kind of like when an animal, like out of nowhere, they just like stop and they're like, you know, looking around like something, I pay attention to it. I'm like, oh, what do you
Hmm.
see? What's wrong? Just like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep,
They're
there's
very much
something.
more bears. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a predator hiding in the bushes,
Hmm.
and we can't ignore it. Unfortunately, there's predators out there for us too.
Yeah. I think that's something very, very important for people to start, because then you got the people, what's the intuition? I know intuition. I'm like, obviously, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. But I know for me, like I pay attention to kind of study myself. Like if I feel a certain way at a certain time, I'm like, why is this? And I know
Hmm.
that a certain way, I'll just all of a sudden I'll get a rush of like, not panic, but kind of like everything's just kind of still and very quiet. And I'm just like, kind of scared, not scared, but kind of a little bit. And I'm like, what is that? But I've noticed that, paid attention to it, and I notice it when it happens. And so I'm like, okay, this happens, and this is what happens when it happens. So that's something's going on there. My senses are, you know what I mean? There's something there that makes my body, my
Yep,
brain a certain way. And I just gotta figure out
it's an
what it is.
adrenaline dump. You're
It
you're
just come out of
getting
nowhere.
you're getting the adrenaline to parts of your body that you need it. And it's definitely something that you don't want to ignore.
Yeah. I'll just like be standing in my kitchen or something, and then all of a sudden that'll happen. And like it'll get quiet. But like for me, it'll get quiet. I know, like for anybody else, if they were there, it'd still sound the same. But it's like everything is really more. I don't know if it's quiet. Like it's just quiet, and things are more like I can't explain it. Like just
I know
still,
exactly what you're talking about.
very
And
still.
one of the things is we very intuitively perceive tiny microscopic changes in the baseline around us. So, like, what I mean by baseline is like, let's say you get into an elevator and there's a bad smell, right? And everybody is kind of holding their noses and they're kind of maybe looking around. And there's one person that's not holding his nose and he's trying to look really inconspicuous. He's off of the baseline. Everybody else is acting this way, and you're acting this way. So we probably know where that bad smell came from, right?
Right. Yeah, pretty much. Oh, it's funny. Oh wow. Yeah, I know some people they just would have been like, I know who is that, right? But somehow you still would have been new because like nobody else said anything. You're the only one who spoke.
Yeah,
Yes, if you spot it, you got it. Oh, that's so funny. Yes. How is it that okay? So with children, because to me, I feel like women, and I'm gonna say black women too, because I'm learning more and more and more how many of us are missing. Nobody knows about it. We don't even know about it. I'm just finding out. I'm just like, dang, I don't even know. But I mean, because the mainstream, if they don't talk about it, we don't know. You know what I mean? That's why I
you
tell
know,
people like to watch the news. You just leave that alone. Just if you want to find something out, you got to go seek the information yourself. That's going to tell you only what they want to tell you.
it's
You know,
black and indigenous women is
business
also a very big one.
like that.
And there's a certain day for recognizing it every year, and you see
Mhm.
people posting about it on social media. It's like
Yeah,
there's this one day that we talk about it, and
yeah,
then we just ignore it the rest of the time.
yeah. True. We did. I know we did this year. With indigenous, we did. With black women. Then we did. I think the latest one was the indigenous. But because I know in the community of TikTok, they take it really, like they really embrace it, and everybody supports one another. And like the content creator, be like, okay, we're gonna focus in on these guys today. And but yeah, like you're right. It's always like a day or something like that. This should
Yep.
be something that we're like constant. And that's why we forget. People forget, or nobody's like talking about it because the only way people are going to know is if when you share information with one another and keep talking about it and keep talking about it, so people start wondering like what's going on, because if we don't know, then we don't know. So So
Yeah,
yeah,
this it's not an issue that disappears 364 days out of the year, right?
nope, still going on, still going on. That's the scary part, you know. And even I was gonna say also, so the women and then children, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
that terrifies me because they're so vulnerable, and you don't realize just how there's people that you know. There's one upon a time at some point in your life where you don't even know, can even fathom it, and then you get old enough and exposed to the world to, and you see the truth, and you're like, there's some sickos out here, you know, and you just want to, you know, and it prey off of usually women and children.
Hmm.
So for you, like, how do you, especially being a father, you have a daughter. So like, what do you
Hmm.
tell her when it comes to being out here in the world and how to handle herself and being aware and how to get away or just really just when some, if anything ever would happen?
Well, I try to have those conversations kind of ongoing and try to highlight without scaring her. I obviously don't want to get her into this like everybody out there is a bad guy because it's not. It's a small few people. Most people I think are fairly decent and will look out for you if need be. But we try to have those conversations ongoing and um, we try to, you know, do a little bit of self defense here and there. Hopefully, she's a little more interested in it when she's older because she's definitely not as interested in it as I think she should be. But I try to do my due diligence as a parent and anyone that she's hung around their kid, you don't know how much you've been spied on because you absolutely have. I've been doing this for a while. I know who she's around. I control who she's around. I There's a balance of trying to give your kids some freedom and then watching out for them. And it's really, really hard balance. And I'm not sure I'm there because I'm a really overprotective person. And it's not just my daughter. I grew up around a little sister who my dad never had to do anything. I was always scaring off the boys. And then I got into youth ministry and I, you know, had girls that were like my little sisters. And I've worked in public schools for a very long time. I'm very protective of especially little girls because I know how sometimes they can be vulnerable. And especially when, little girls are more cooperative than little boys. And little
Yeah.
boys can sometimes be more aggressive than little girls.
Well,
And when it gets to be where a little boy is picking on a little girl, that's not good. We got to interrupt that, right?
yes, yes, right then and there, nip it in the bud. Yeah, because somewhere along the line, somebody didn't. I sat back and I thought about
Hmm.
it. I was like, where did we get disconnected? I did a show one time by myself. I said it had to have been way, way, way back when somebody came home and said somebody did something, and she's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. That's what kids do." I'm thinking like, who in the world told her to say that? I was like, that is not what kids do. Their kids were not born that way to go to school and be mean to each other. No, somebody just didn't take care of that, and they and because you know you still hear this to this day. People say, "Oh, bullying, that's nothing." I had a little bullying when I was younger. It makes you tougher, or you know, you'll hear like, "Oh, that's just what they do," and it's like, no, that's not what they just do. Now they're doing other stuff, like you know, hurting themselves. You know, like
Right.
this is way out of control. You know, and I've heard people say that too many times. I was listening to a radio show once, and they were talking and like, yeah, bullying, you know, it's just, it's a healthy way of, they kind of, I could tell they didn't mean anything, like they weren't making fun of it, but I said, oh, I got the phone. I was like, doot, 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 doot. I was like, yeah, I just want to talk to you guys about something. And I kind of informed them like what the reality is and what goes on now these days, with bullying and suicide and all that stuff. And they were like really kind of floored. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like how it used to be. It's turned up even more. Got
And it
online
might,
bullying.
I think it's what kids do is a really, really terrible excuse because I think it's right. It might be what kids do. What do people do? People who don't look like us, or people who don't think like us, or people who don't act like us. I think it's very natural to either be afraid or dislike those people, not want to be around those people. And sure, maybe you can say, hey, that's just what people do. But that's not what people should do.
Right,
As people, we can improve ourselves. And as parents, we should be improving our children, and we shouldn't just expect this lowest common denominator. That's what kids do.
right.
Well, maybe that's not what kids should do.
Yeah. And then later on, you wonder like what happened. You're like, well, usually, and then working, in schools, I'm like, yep, you usually just trace it right on back to the home.
Yeah,
Especially with bullies. Bullies are usually being bullied themselves or something's going on,
yeah,
at
parents are
home.
both.
Mm-hmm. Yep. They can
Well,
definitely
jump
trace.
on social media. People are bullies. Adults
Yeah,
are bullies to each
horrible.
other.
What I watched
And
on
it's
there, I was appalled.
yeah,
They
talk to
bullied.
anybody talk to anybody in retail, talk to anybody who works at the gas station or a McDonald's or
Everywhere.
whatever.
That's just the
People
world is
think
in.
that, yeah, like they have to sit there and take it when people are verbally abusive to
Mhm.
them. And people get into these things. I observe it all the time where it's like there's a power difference.
Mhm.
This person can't talk back to me. So now I can walk in and I can be a jerk to them.
Yeah.
And people feel the sense of like power by bullying each other, and
Yeah.
almost this like sense of accomplishment where it's like I yeah, I'm a weak person, but now I can bully somebody else. Look, I'm stronger than somebody.
And that's not even completely true because a bully can only really do what they do usually with an audience. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's all about, and then it's crazy to me. It just, you know, it just makes me so, I get infuriated. Even since I was younger, like I never liked when people, I don't like when people like even say like, ew, look at her shoes. Like, is she ugly? Even to this day, I don't like it. I'm like, well, who are you? Like, who made you the say all of beauty? Like you just don't say those things because who are we? You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
to like better. So I mean, I don't know. I just don't like it. But I know I was on social media like last week, and I remember there was a girl that she was autistic, and there was a joke that had been going around about macaroni and putting raisins in it, and I had did a duet with her, and I was like, she did the raisin thing, and I looked in the camera, I looked at her, I said, but I guess other people got really nasty with it. So one of the other girls had told us about it, and I decided to go on over and do a video to her, and talking to her through the video, but I apologize just in case if she did take mine the wrong way, but she didn't. But I still wanted to support her and then also, let her know like don't, but they just kept going and then they were saying kill yourself and I was just like, oh. And then there's a whole nother handicapped guy. He was brave and I think that's bravery, for him to get on there and do his dances and stuff. Because I don't know what his was called, his what his handicaps, but well, I all I saw was bravery. Like, especially dealing with this cruel world, and for people to have the audacity, he didn't come on your page, you came in his page, so you
Right.
came here to laugh at him and to call him names. Oh, you're just a awesome human being, And I tell them, I'm like, it's not you. I said, don't ever take this person. I said, that person doesn't like themselves. I mean, look at
Right.
him all the way in here just to say horrible things to you. So I mean, who's really got the problem here? They're just mad because they can't get up here, and be this brave. It's appalling, you know, very appalling, And then I'll ask you that question, like, okay, so I'm pretty sure if someone did this to you or your mother, your sister, your grandmother, your brother, it'd be funny, right? Of course it would. And they're looking at me like, it'd be funny. I mean, why wouldn't it be? It only makes sense if that was funny, right? Because you laugh at other people, so you definitely laugh at somebody who's doing this to your family. You kind of get like huh? I'm like, yeah, right. So then why do you do it? You know, because if it was you and yours, you wouldn't like it. Do unto others as
Yeah.
you would have them do unto you.
Yeah. And there's a double-edged sword to this online community thing.
Mhm.
There are people out there that are horrible and will bully you, but let's say you're in a wheelchair and you like to dance. There's a community of people out there for you too. There's a community of people that want to support you, that will lift you up.
Yeah.
And no, that's the best thing about things like Facebook or TikTok or wherever it is whatever you're into. Let's say, you know, you're a boy and you like My Little Ponies. There's a community out there for you.
I know a boy like that.
No,
So I said
no
that.
matter who you want to be or
Yeah.
who you are, there's a community of people out there just like you. And when I was a kid, if I was into, some weird thing, not that like I was into like wrestling and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the same kind of stuff that all the other boys around me were into. But if I was into something that was weird, that was off the beaten path, I couldn't find a community of other people with that same interest. But whatever your interest is now, there's a community of people out there for you.
Yeah, sure is. And that's that one of those blessings with the internet, because you always say it's gonna be a blessing and a curse. Just
Absolutely.
yeah, it's got to use it correctly. But yeah, definitely, definitely. But I know with the cyberbullying thing, of course, we call them computer thugs. Because you're behind a screen. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure you don't have any of that energy. But
Yeah.
it's the sad part is that these students and these school kids, the teenagers, they really, really, really sometimes take it to heart, and then we don't realize how much they've been beaten down. And then you get all these kids, they kill yourself. There's been so many cases where that actually they followed through, and the parent came home and they really did take their life, and the kids kept going. Even I remember this one mother, they drew the girl's coffin, and do you know they never got any reprimand for that, and they knew who it was. Just like I when I sent you that message about so I think his name's Marion in
Mhm.
Texas. I think the school is Poe something. I don't know, whatever they are, but they discussed me. But I guess that he'd been getting bullied for like a year or something now. And for the last 2 weeks, I guess there was four. They were his teammates. They had like a pellet gun or something like that. They had been shooting at his private parts for like 2 weeks already. The school knew about it, so we found out that they knew before this one incident. And then he ended up going to a sleepover. And when I first heard that, I was thinking like, why would he go anywhere? Is they trying to be his friends now? I wouldn't fall for that. That's classic Carrie, befriend them and then just make fun of them. But it was another kid that befriended him, but they ended up all like being together. So when he went over there, they came and shoved urine. They had him, beat him with a belt, had him drinking the urine. Even had the video. The mom didn't want to show it at first, but she said, you know what? They're showing it. They were laughing in it. She said, you know what? People need to see this. They threatened him, told him he better not tell, and he told her, and she told him she was proud of him that he did say something. Sweet, cute little boy too. So it's always so happy and nice. And when I seen him too, I was just like, oh, I mean, how could you just? I mean, anybody, it doesn't matter, but you just see, what I mean, just what how I don't understand why, and you really got to take it back to where it comes from. It's those parents. Your kids are this horrible. Kids are just walking around here horrible, and the parents don't notice. They got kids drinking urine, shooting them in the. Who raises their kids that way? Like, I mean, you're just setting them up for a life of either they're gonna be killed, possibly rest with the wrong person. Um, anything. It's not gonna, and none of it's gonna pan out to good. You sit them out in the
It's not
world
going to end well.
at all.
You can't act that way as an adult.
But they put it in their heart. You know what I mean? Like they think this is
Hmm.
cool, and they call them niggers and just all these words, and it's like their parents did this. They created this. They had the choice of doing the total opposite and raising kids, to treat others. That's one of the dangerous things too about, you know, raising kids, that you have the ability to influence them in the way that you want. And unfortunately, some people feel okay with putting hatred inside their children's heart.
And it would be great for those people to see where it's all going to end up, because I'm sure you've known people like that. I've known people like that. And now they're losers. They
Mhm.
can't hold down any kind of a decent job. People
Yep.
don't want to be around them.
They ruined their
And
lives.
they're angry about that. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, they're not too bright. I mean, the parents, obviously, school wasn't working out because, I mean, you put it on, thank God they did, but you videotaped yourself. What did you think was going to happen?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what kids just, ugh, and then one of them got on social media talking mess, talking about, I was almost sorry, but now, like, you weren't sorry. You weren't sorry. Is that you went way beyond. They had been, but what's really pissing me off is that the freaking teachers, the school knew before they even got to that incident that what they had been doing. That right there, they shouldn't even be able to have students, because that's dangerous. That tells me that you don't know how to keep kids safe. I wouldn't trust my children with you.
What goes beyond that? You've worked in schools for a long time. And so I know you know this. A lot of those adults, their hands are tied. There's nothing they are allowed to do about it. There's nothing they can do about it. And so it's a bigger, more systemic problem that needs to be addressed.
Well, I know for me, I would do something about it. I mean, my son was in school. The schools I worked at, he went to. So I was really up close and personal, you know what I mean, with when they started systematically bullying him. It became like a thing, and I picked up on that. I said, something's not right here. I would see things that are way off. Like, this kid over here never gets in trouble. He just all of a sudden just ran past you
Hmm.
and did things to you. It was all kind of like, I even got some of it too. It became a thing to where I just walked out one day because they wouldn't acknowledge it. Won't even ask me, "Are you sure this is really happening?" I'm like, "What do you mean is it really?" Okay, I seen a whole freaking playground of kids walk to. It's still hard for me to talk about. Like, I had a show a few weeks ago, and I kind of touched on it. And then I did a TikTok video, but I opened up a little bit more, but I don't know what it is that makes me hold on to. Is it shame? It's not even shame. I think it might be because um, nobody helped me. So I'm like a mom and a teacher, same school, but I'm watching my son, just supporting my son. You know what I mean? I don't want him here because it's unfair. It's not nice. He's a really good kid. It's not no one's doing anything. I'm telling you guys, and then you say, "Oh, okay, I'll take care of it," and then nothing. And then I'm getting, what I mean, some stuff too. And then it was like, I tell people, like his grandparents, and they're just more about, yeah, yeah, but he got to go to school. He got to stay in school. And then my sister's like, well,
Hmm.
you can't leave because you got to work. And I'm like, what's wrong with you people? I'm like, we're suffering here. It's not just because it's work doesn't always pan out to you should be there. You know what I mean?
Right. And
Especially,
just because just because I have to work, I'm not going to sacrifice my son over work.
Either one of us, my sanity
Right.
and him is always
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
miserable. Because I was facing these things and nobody would cared. You know what I mean? So I didn't really know, and I voiced it too. I would come home every day just upset or I'd cry. And I told my one friend every day for like almost a whole year. And then one day I just left. I just went to the front because I had finally had the last straw. A parent had said something that got back, and I'm like, the only way she would know that is she really heard these things. But at that point, I just walked out slowly. I went to the front and I said, "I'm gonna go." They're like, "What?" I said, "I just, I'm just gonna go. I just can't. I don't want to cause any problem." I was just too done, But I ended up going to the ER, like the hospital, like later because I have high blood pressure, and I was just like my anxiety started kicking in, and long story short is that I have my principal that from my other school before I got to this school, I still talked to her and she supported me. She actually was my only support. And I wasn't gonna go back. My other boss from this school kept asking me, "Are you coming back?" And I thought she was trying to trick me. Like, are you trying to come maybe get in there so you fire me? I don't get unemployment. I'm thinking all kinds of stuff, right? Like I don't know what it is, but I think like you guys are up to something. But then one day I just said, you know what? I thought about my students because that was the last time they see me when I left. And in my head, I was thinking, because I got so close with them from kindergarten all the way up to whatever third, whatever grades they were in. And I didn't want them, I don't know how many people have ever in their lives ever walked out on them or the last time they seen them or anything like that. And I didn't want to be one of the, like another,
Mm-hmm.
person
Yeah.
in their life. And it showed me that I could go back and I could finish it out and I could do it. And I did. So, but that was very damaging to me. I'm still having a hard time talking about that. The stuff that really, really like happened. But I never, people wouldn't even believe it if I told them. I'd be like, yes, this really freaking happened. I had a whole parent tell me that their kids told me that was happening, that they knew about it. But the part that bothers me is that the actual adults aren't doing anything. And then I sent him to another
Right.
school to get him out of there. I had to get him out of there. I said, I can't work here and be a teacher because one of them are going to come out and Mama Bear is going to come out and get fired. That's what's going to happen. So I got to make choices here. And so I figured, you know what? We've been in the school together since he was first grade. It's this time like fourth grade. So I was like, maybe, or sixth grade, I think. I said, maybe it's time a little bit of independence and just to see what happens. At this school, it got physical. He got jumped, kicked. They didn't do nothing. But nothing really happened. They only did the minimum what they did because I was, you know, like was what I don't even know why I took him back after that. It was just disgusting because things kept happening. And then the last time I just went, I got him. I said, we're out of here, and just kept him home until I was able to did independent work until I found another school where he just goes half a little bit of the day. There's no recess, no socializing. But at that point, I needed him to catch up, and then I don't feel safe with schools. It's
Well, I
horrible.
mean, as a parent, you got to do the best for your child. And I'm sure you feel the exact same way I do. Sacrifice anything you have to.
Hmm.
You know, if you have to sacrifice your career, your child's more important. You're going to put your child first, right?
Always. Yeah. And that's what I wanted him to. I remember I had a coworker come up to me and she told me, she said, Brandy, no matter what you do, you always make sure you look out for, if nobody else will, you make sure you always advocate
Mm-hmm.
for your child and let them know that you're there. And that was crazy for her to say like anything because she's kind of like, kind of mean or I don't know. For her to say that, you know, like she was kind of just quiet. She really didn't get in it. So I guess she was observing. And so she just told me, you keep advocating, you stand up for your son. And, because if it wasn't me, because, some parents take the people aside or just think their kids are, I've seen that happen. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go ahead and believe because I was there. I seen it. So I know my kid. You know what I mean? If he ran off and hit you or did something, what is it? I'm pretty sure he deserved it. What you do? He did. I mean, how many times you gonna sit there and let somebody smack you in the back of the head before you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to figure out who the teacher was that allowed him to get smacked in the back of the head. Actually, just certain stuff like that, and they told him, okay, just stay away from this person or that person. Why should I mean, if he would have to, if he had to walk this way, he just so that's your solution, right? So when he has to walk past, and my son's short, that's why he used to get picked on, and these kids would be like way, because our school was kinder to eighth grade, and then we have these tall kids pushing on a little short, that's questionable already right there. And I think, he just got teacher wouldn't do nothing. He got tired of it and turned around and charged one of them. Granted, he only made it to his stomach because, but he did. But that's when they had the problem. That's when it was a problem. When my son reacted to the
Yeah,
harassment.
of course. Of course.
Mm-hmm. How messed up the world is. It's just like, really? Then at this school, when it happened again, the man told him, "You do not have the right to protect yourself." Literally said that to him. You got to stand there and let them hit you. And if you fall on the ground, then that's when it's a problem. That's when I tell a parent that. I just said, this is morbid. Let's get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's what's
No.
going on. Teachers are not doing anything. You shouldn't be around
Yeah.
kids if you're not going to protect them.
Right. Right. That's
Yeah.
the first reason you're there, right?
Yep. That's exactly before learning, before anything, safety is always first. And if you're failing that, then you have there's nothing else to be done here. There'll be no school work, because we have to return these children, and not just because of that. I mean, we care for them. I'm care for them like I would care for my own. But we nice to return them back to the parents the way they got here. So that's a lot of kids to have to look out for. It's always going to be way more than them than us. So you have to be very vigilant and very. You can't just have a job like this and just fake your way through it and not pay attention and stuff. Like, go find somewhere else to go. But this
Oh
is a
yeah.
and you either teaching and you're keeping them safe. So yeah, not everybody belongs in that field at all whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of people that do. There's a very, very rare breed of people that should be working with children.
Yeah, you have to have a tolerance and you have to actually enjoy it because if
Yeah.
you don't, you're not going to make it. Because I've seen teachers cry and leave. So I'm like, they're not that bad. So, they can really just be like, oh my god. But I mean, it's worth it. I mean, that's what we're there for. Is to That's what comes with it. They have people. Some of them they have their behaviors. You have to to be able to teach them. You have to be able to deal with those things and find an effective way to handle it.
Well, some people are meant to work with kids, and some people are meant to build houses, and we all just that's life. We all just got to find where we fit, right?
Yep, yep. That is so true. So true. Yeah. So what do you think that we could do differently? So, I want to ask your advice on this. I personally
Okay.
think that every school should have an anti-bullying program, and not just because okay, everybody you should have one. You have your pamphlet. I think they should take it another step up and have it put into like the common core. You know what I mean? Like because what it comes with. Children are gonna come in there and they're gonna because they come from home and they carry things from home to school, and you got to already be ready to go. You know, you have that, and you already have a system where you're working that into it, so they're already receiving messages, and you teach them how to work together. When you see a problem, you have problem solving and like strategies, things. You know what I mean? Because you're teaching them to go out into the world to be successful. How's that ever going to work out if they don't even treat people good? They can't really work with people because they are unemployable. You know what I mean? They're not
Right.
that anything about diversity or any of that stuff. So I think they should really put that. I'm gonna try to petition for it. And I'm doing it because I don't want children, first of all, to think that suicide is a freaking option. You know what I mean? So we have to pull out all the stops
Mhm.
here. We got to do better. So,
Well, also, a lot of schools will tell you that they have a zero tolerance policy for bullying, and then they go and they tolerate
right.
all
All of it. Yep.
all that I want you to do. If you say you have a zero tolerance policy, then you have a zero tolerance policy. Then you enforce it. And you say, if you're going to be bullying kids at this school, that's not what we're here for. You're going to be asked to leave this school. Really have a zero tolerance policy. And if you're not going to have it, if you're not going to have that zero tolerance policy, don't put it on your literatures. Don't put it on your posters. Don't tell parents that's what you're about, because that's not what you're about. And the kids know, the parents know. But there are some countries where they have self defense in their curriculum.
Cool.
And I'd really like to see that. I'd really like to see us explore that. And it's not about like, I can beat somebody up,
Right.
but it's instilling that self awareness and that self confidence in kids.
And the
And
discipline and all that.
when I'm confident and happy with myself,
Right. That you don't go out picking on other.
then I don't
Yeah.
need to bully anybody. What you'll see differently from maybe the way that they might be portrayed on television and film, walk into especially a Brazilian jiu-jitsu class, but any MMA school. You might think that they're meatheads and maybe they'll be bullies and whatever, but these are the warmest, friendliest people. Seriously, you go into a Brazilian jiu-jitsu class and you might have this like hard sparring where people are like choking each other out and stuff. Those guys will hug you. Those guys will joke around with you because they're confident and they don't have anything to prove. And
Yeah.
so they're warm and they're friendly and they're sensitive and they're loving
Yeah.
because they know who they are and they don't have anything to prove. And they're not afraid. They're not full of doubt. They're not full of hatred. They're not full of anger because they've
Yeah.
already worked that stuff out.
That's what I love about stuff like that. I know my son he had did some karate and then some boxing, but I like the fact that they discipline. They do more than just what I mean. You have to
Mhm.
go through stuff before you even get to to do any of that stuff. To build character and all that. That's what I really like. So you get
Yeah,
that,
go
and you
go
learn how
check
to.
out a jujitsu class if you ever have a
Mhm.
chance to, because it's such a unique culture.
Mhm.
It really is. It's like there are people, and it's such an equalizer too. You'll have people of tons of different like races and socioeconomic status that like they're just there to improve themselves and they're there to work hard. And then when someone else walks into that situation, they're going to try to give you a hand up too. It's really awesome. But when people are self confident and disciplined, they don't feel a need to bully anybody else.
I tell people that respect themselves, truly respect themselves, they don't disrespect others because they know that it is too
Absolute,
restricted and they're not going to do anybody else like that. So people that usually do that
absolute.
respect themselves, because why would they want to show themselves in that type of light?
there's a podcaster, and it's a different podcaster. So I'm not going to even say his name because the only podcast I'm endorsing right now is your podcast. I think people should only listen to your or just listen to your podcast first. You can listen to other ones eventually once you get done with all Brandy's. But likes to say, I've never met a hater that's doing better than me. And it's so true, right?
That's true. I guess that's
You
why they
you
hate.
don't meet successful people that are trying to run down others.
Nope, not at all. Not at all. Yeah. Somebody was talking about that earlier where they had like good news. And sometimes you feel like that. You feel like you don't want to share it sometimes because you already know like when people are just like, oh, you're kind of like, okay. Like with me, I'm like on my podcast, I want to bring like I'll highlight you. I'll celebrate you. I'll be okay. I'll put you like I have a page where on my website where I'll put people's shows and I'll share your show. Cause we're all doing the same thing here. You know what I mean? I'll celebrate you. You know what I mean? All that. And there's this one girl that
And
came
that
across.
makes you look good.
Yeah.
If
And I
if I
want
can make you
people to
look
look
good,
good,
it makes me look good, right?
right? We all look good
Yeah.
together, you know? But some people get really weirded out by like it scares this one girl away. I'm like, what's going on here? I want to show my support. It's kind of like she wants to one up and stuff, and I'm like, God, I don't got time to be playing them games. Knock it off. You want your stuff on my stuff or not? You
It's
know,
just insecurity, right?
right? I tell people I don't have no competition. I'm my own competition. I want to be better than
Mm-hmm.
I was before. I can only work on being me. I can never be you, or you. So how are we competing? I'm me, you. You know what I mean? Not saying any better or not, but I don't have to compete with you because I'm me and I'm competing with myself. And I want to do better and be better than I
Yeah.
was the day before. So that's why I say I'm on
That's
competition.
one thing that is a huge, huge thing for me when I absolutely hated myself and I hated my life. I was always comparing myself to other people and always telling myself why I didn't measure up to other people. You can't compare yourself to other people because you're not them.
Right.
I can't be a really good version of Brandy. I can't measure up to Brandy if I'm trying to be Brandy. I'm
Right.
PJ and I can be a really, really good version of myself. I can be the best version of myself. I can't do you, I can do me.
Exactly. Yeah. I think people, need to just horn in on that and really think about it. Like, why would you even try or want to be somebody that you're not? Like, I wouldn't even know how. I don't.
Right.
Why do I want to be? I like me. Even if
Yeah.
like I'm okay with me. Even if I'm not all the way there, if I am or not, I don't want to be. I don't because to me that just doesn't make sense to be somebody like I don't know you. I don't know. You know
Uh,
what I mean?
You know
Want to
what?
don't know what really goes on and what we
Don't
see.
pretend to be, yeah, don't pretend to be that person. Be that person. Don't pretend to be anybody.
Right.
Work until you are somebody. Work until you're someone you like, someone you can be proud of.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you
And
don't
I
like you,
did that. Yeah, I did that. Like,
yeah.
and you know, and there are some limitations, right? If I said like I want to be a really, really fantastic piano player, be a famous piano player, I don't really have that in me.
Hmm. I do. I want to be a
But
piano
you find out what you're good at, and then you go for it, right?
player. Yeah. You said piano. I was taking some lessons too. Before I leave this planet, I've got to learn how to play the piano. It's my I have to.
I don't have any desire. I don't have any talent for it. My family are all fantastic musicians.
Yeah.
I don't have a talent for it at all for whatever reason, but I
It is hard.
also don't really, yeah, I don't have a desire. So whatever.
I love music. I just want to like be able to write my songs and also and play the piano as I, like kind of sing them. I love the sound of the piano, and I just like really like, I want to be able to play the piano, play my own music, to the song, and
Hmm.
And yeah, I like Beethoven. People think that's probably weird. Like, who's black girl likes some Beethoven,
Oh
Mozart?
no, 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 no.
Gotta be some Mozart and some Beethoven.
That yeah, no, that makes you intelligent. That makes you cultured, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's actually it's very love. I love like the piano. I love that type of music or that elevator music, like from Nordstrom when you get in the elevator. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that culture. Culture. Is that what you called it?
yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
cultured. Yeah,
Mhm.
I definitely there's like genres of music and stuff that I like that other people don't get into, and I'm like, that's fine. I like what I like. You like what you like. I
Yeah,
don't I don't mind.
right. Yeah, I can go from rap to that to what's
Hmm.
that song? I like rock and roll. I like like Creed, Nirvana, a little bit of Marilyn Michael. I like Marilyn Manson. Maybe not him in general, but I mean like he's talented. And yeah, I like stuff like that. And one of my favorites is the Beach Boys, Kokomo. I got my students into that song. I don't know if you remember that song.
I
And they
okay. I have seen the Beach Boys in person twice because
mhm.
my wife is a huge Beach Boys fan, and I saw them once at the Minnesota State Fair on this humongous stage surrounded by tons and tons of people with John Stamos.
Oh,
And it was
well,
amazing. It was amazing to see them like that. And then I saw them once in a casino in a small room, and everybody else was like 40 years older than me. And I was like, I really like listening to these guys. These guys sound awesome. And then I'm like, oh, it's really disappointing to see these guys as like old men in this crappy casino. That sucks. But when I got to see them in the huge outdoor auditorium, they were great. They're awesome musicians.
that's like the one song from when I was a kid that just sticks with me. I'm like thinking now, get off of here, I'm gonna play that song. My son's gonna be like, "What are you listening to?" Oh. Yeah, yeah. I really appreciate you, coming on and I maybe we can extend it or like uh do another sometime and maybe even have like peeps a few do a Q&A because I did want to talk to you
Yeah.
about like the safety of I don't know if you heard like the things that are going on now when it comes to women, like people that put a Bible on top. I meant to have a show about this too. Put a Bible on top of the roof of the car, and then they're thank God for good people that were sending out like messages telling people, if you see this, don't touch the Bible, just get in your car and just
Yeah,
start
it's
driving.
called distraction crime. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go straight to the police station. Don't go home. You know what I mean? Because they're expecting you to either go for it or they'll do something to mark your car, put a number. They said, don't look under the car. Don't. And I'm one lady, she actually took the note off, but and she was driving. She could feel. I think it was something in there. And she kind of started feeling a little, but she turned up into I think it was her parking lot or somebody else's, and so they kept going. So they actually had put something on the note that she was going to take. She took off the car. So it's just like
Yeah.
definitely
No.
that to let
And
people know.
those tactics kind of evolve and change a little bit,
Mhm.
but it's nothing new.
Yeah.
Thieves used to mark houses with chalk or draw something in the sand by your house or
Mhm.
whatever so they could come back and clean you out.
Yeah. It's just we got to
But
make people aware. People don't really think those things. You think it'd be right there in your
mhm,
face, like, oh, here you go. He's looking at me, he's following me. But no, he did that already. He's, yeah, just always just think it, know it, because a good chance that somebody, because I keep my mace, I'll keep tasers, and I'll walk around. I'll walk out the door, and I'll just have it. And one time, a guy was like turned around and he was behind me. And I just took my taser and I just walked like this for a few minutes. I was like, "Yep." I kept walking. I turned around. He was
So,
gone.
so I'm going to give you some advice on that for sure. What you want to do, what you want to get is what's called pepper gel. Because let's say you spray pepper spray and it's a windy day,
And it come
you
back.
might get your face full of, yeah, pepper gel is a little thicker and it
Mhm.
sticks to your target.
Ooh, so he got in the eye, then he's really not going to be chasing me, huh? Because his eyes are.
Yeah.
Oh!
And it, and if he does, then you're fighting a guy who's, got a face full of chemicals. He's blind, he can't
Right.
breathe real well. You have a much, much better chance if that happens.
Maybe.
Also, so pepper gel and then what's called a tactical pen. These are like they're made of aircraft grade aluminum. They're pens, and you can use them to break glass with, you can stab someone with them, you can, shove it into someone's throat or temple or whatever. You can bring it anywhere. You can take a notebook and bring it on an airplane. And then you always have that self defense tool with you wherever you go.
Cool. Where do I get those at?
eBay, Amazon, just search tactical pen. And I'd say start out with one that just looks cool to you. I like ones that look like, I mean, there's some that are like big and they look like they might be weapons. I like ones that look really covert. They look like pens.
Mhm.
I can throw them in my pocket and I
Think you're
can
right.
I can go anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check into that. Yeah, it's always.
Yeah.
I think all women should have something on them, even children.
Yeah, the
Something.
pepper spray, the pepper gel will cost you like less than $20 and then you'll spend another 10, 15 on the tactical pens, but I've seen where you can get like three of them for $15.
Mhm.
And they're
Definitely.
pens, you can write with them.
They're like, yeah, I'm just writing, officer.
Yeah,
Right. That's pretty neat. But it's
yep,
necessary, because like I mean, you have a daughter, so I know you like, you don't you be darned if somebody mess with her, you don't mess with people,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
you want her to be safe and that's the way you can do it without her, you know what I mean, being, not able to have safe something to keep on her. And then whoever made that was a genius.
Yeah,
you know, yeah, most
yeah,
definitely.
there's a guy who was a ex-CIA security officer. If you ever want some good tips, by the way,
Mhm.
Jason Hansen is a guy that I really, really like, and I don't mind saying his name because I'm not competing with him. I'm just trying to keep people safe.
Mhm.
But you can put his name in YouTube,
Mhm.
and there are all sorts of good advice and good tips on there. He's on like the Rachel Ray show, showing stuff, and he's got this. It's called Spy Escape and Evasion. So he's got a whole like spy thing too. It's a little different. It's a little different than um, my thing. He was a security officer. Neither one of us were like James Bond at any point,
Mhm.
but he's got a cool marketing thing. But he has made an entire business out of like giving away free tactical pens when you buy his book and whatever.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely check them out because I think that, you know, and it's getting even crazier. You just never know. It's always better safe than. then sorry, I guess. Just it's always just best to just. I think every woman, child, everybody should always have when you're old enough to have like some kind of self defense. Like I still think well, my bones aren't too painful yet. I'm only 42. I could take some karate or something, before I
Uh,
start getting sore. But yeah, I
You
think
need to, and you know what? I would say if it's at all possible, if you want to learn how to do karate, do karate. But if you can find a self-defense seminar, go to that because you want to be really specific about what you're looking for. But you know
maybe
what? Also, go on Facebook, go on Instagram, get a hold of Archangel Protective Intelligence. The good stuff is on archangelintelligence.locals.com. You can learn how to gather intelligence, and you can learn how to defend yourself. And
almost
just a few quick tips. As long as you internalize them and you practice them, will go a really, really long way.
sure. Yeah, that's very important. I think, the more that I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, that's stuff like you said in school, it'd be good for like young girls and stuff too to learn these different things like life, saving things. So I think I'm really gonna try to push for that and get parents to stand by that if we want to feel a little bit more secure, with letting our kids, especially after all this, then we have to equip them the best the way that
Yeah,
we can in all situations.
I think all of those life-saving things, self-defense, CPR, first aid,
Yeah.
all of
Yep.
those are great to learn.
Yep. Definitely students, because what do you do when the adults or the teacher or somebody is down? You know what I mean? So I think it's very
Hmm.
important that they know they have some kind of CPR first aid thing going on. Like to me, that's like a no brainer. The kids that's just home with the mom or the pregnant mom or, or what something happens to the parent, then, so I think that we should start thinking more like that. And I think I'm going to talk about that a lot more, you know,
Yeah,
in my shows. You just don't want to be in that situation if you could prepare for it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for coming on here and then, spiking my awareness up even more so to where that's kind of where my head is, just keeping ourselves like safe, being prepared, instead of walking around
yeah.
like victims or feeling so scared, you feel, be prepared and confident.
It's been a really cool conversation,
For sure.
and at some point during this, you invited me back, so I'm already going to accept. We'll talk about that in the future.
Yeah,
We'll
for
have
sure.
another conversation, right?
Yeah, maybe we'll like bring on maybe like two people, let them like ask some like a Q&A. Maybe it'll be like somebody that a parent with a child, something more uh in that area, parent,
Yeah,
and maybe like or a youth or something like that. I think that'd be really cool. Yeah.
yeah, that would be cool. I'd love to do it.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Well, I loved it. Had a great time. Um, you just like sparked so much stuff in my head right now that I want to look into. And I appreciate you for what you do, for people. That's
Well,
amazing.
I appreciate your passion to talk about it. I appreciate your passion in talking about anti-bullying and addressing that.
Yes, thank you. I'm not giving up. It's not easy, to get people to, but I'm like, I don't feel like I have any other options. I have to try any and everything I can to make sure that no matter what, that taking their own life or somebody possibly taking life is not an option. We got to give them other things like if they got to deal with this because bullying is not going to go away. But if we can build our children to be, like I said, more confident, and then also don't create bystanders that'll sit by and watch and think because they don't do anything and laugh that they're not a part of. I'm like, no, no, you are. But that takes us to teach them that how to handle that better, not be a bystander and watch it. just because you don't want to look like, you know what I mean? You don't want to be next, or you don't want to look uncool.
Yeah,
So
and that's how we stop it, Brandy, not just by teaching kids stand up for yourself when
yeah,
you're being bullied,
yeah,
but stand up when you see other people being bullied.
yeah,
What we want to do is we want to create a stigma around being a bully.
yeah. To where when they are now, they now you make the bully feel like, oh, you know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like exactly. Yeah.
yeah, it's not okay to be a bully. Well, you and I are on the same team, Brandy, and hopefully you do what you do, I do what I do, and we can save some lives.
Amen to that. Amen. Bring some more on board, and then guide these children. They're our future, so we got to get them prepared too to be, yeah, be stronger and to love one another. Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Well, I thank you. I know it's late out there, so I know you're probably ready to get some rest. And you're welcome here.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I wake up pretty early in the morning, and my daughter doesn't always sleep through the night super well, so that means the parents don't always sleep through the night super well either. You know how that goes.
Yeah, I'm so happy he sleeps in his. Now he does. I'm like, oh, that wasn't that long ago. So, but yeah, he wasn't. I tell you, it wasn't. But I appreciate you, and you're welcome here at any time. And if you would mind one more time to let the listeners know, drop a line for them to follow you, and I'll make sure I put in the notes.
Archangel Protective Intelligence on Facebook, on Instagram, and archangelintelligence.locals.com is the big one.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. You just don't know how much
Thank
you
you, Brand. You
helped.
have all my contact information. You have my phone number. We've been
Yes.
texting back and forth. So we'll make this happen again.
For sure, for sure. Feel free to get in touch with me whenever you need or you have a question or anything, and I'm here.
All right.
Right. Well, you take care. You have a good night.
You too. Thank you. You have a good one too.
Night
Bye.
night. Bye.